Welcome into the CatCast. This is your host, as always, Cat Kennison, here to bring you another terrific podcast for your listening and viewing pleasure. Today we have another funny hat as we are celebrating Halloween. Like usual, we have Pikachu from Pokemon. Okay, got the Pikachu Pokemon going on. Got the little ears up there, and got a great podcast lined up for everybody today. We're real excited about it. Took yesterday off, but we got to get back into things like usual. You know the cat. We want to keep plugging these babies out. Keep that entertainment flowing for your entertainment purposes, I guess. Anyways, today we're going to talk about a comet or a spaceship that's out there right now. And they think it might be a spaceship. It's known as Atlas. I think some of you probably have heard of it. The news is covering it right now. And we're going to talk about that. Then we're also going to talk about Planet X, or Na-boo-roo, a planet that may exist in our solar system but have such a far elliptical orbit that we haven't seen it. We don't know of its existence. Well, we thought of its existence by the Samaritans, I believe. Samaritans. And Samaris? I can't remember now. But there is a theory behind this Planet X that we will explore. So we got some space topics to start off with. Always good. Always good. Then we also have SNAP. Now, SNAP is a food program to help people that don't have a lot of money to buy food. So that should be a great thing. But I've seen some episodes on the news right now that make me wonder about SNAP. And we're going to talk about that. Okay. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, has changed his opinion on climate change. He now thinks it's not existential threat. He now thinks it's not going to lead to humanity's demise, and so that is very big for him to say. And now maybe we can stop the climate hysteria, but this video may still be flagged with a thing to tell you about climate change. I noticed one of my other videos was, so this one may be as well. And if you want to look up that information that it shows you, you can. But right now it looks like a lot of people are backing away from that, because here's the thing that is shown. That when we started having those CO2 emissions raise, also life expectancy went up. And it was stagnant. Also GDP went up. And it was stagnant. Okay, we're talking about centuries here, okay? So it's pretty interesting. Life expectancy went from 40 years to 80 years. And the GDP also skyrocketed, gross domestic product for our country. So we will be discussing that as well. So great topics, 4 of them. I think we can cover 4 in our estimated 30 like we like to do. Keep it a little shorter if we can, but it's going to be entertaining. That's what we plan for. So, the comet or the spaceship that is out there right now, known as Atlas, is on the backside of the sun right now. So we can't directly monitor it from Earth. But we have satellites back there tracking the sun, and I think we can also track that object. Hopefully they have ways to use those satellites to track objects as well, and to see if it makes a change in its trajectory or its path. That would not be a natural change. The reason that this comet is thought to be possibly space vehicle, there are several things that I was informed about today. It came in, even though it's interstellar, which means it came from outside our solar system, it came in at the same plane of the solar system. Okay? So instead of coming in at a weird angle, to our solar, it came in almost at the angle of the planets. Unusual, unless, because the chances are very rare. Now, I'm still kind of on the edge that this is probably just a comet, but it's interesting. There's some other aspects to it. The content of this comet looks to have nickel that does not have a lot of moisture in the metal, which we have found when we process nickel or iron into nickel, or however, the same kind of thing happens, but it's not a natural process, it's an artificial process what we do. That makes them think that it could be also an alien spacecraft. It has done some movements that are a little unusual, but nothing that's crazy out of the ordinary right now. So, but we're running on the backside of the sun. This is when it comes back around. If we see anything change, that's what will be interesting. Now, one of the scientists, I must say, he was very suspect of this being a spaceship. He thinks it is a natural object, but he said it would be great if one day we do find extraterrestrial life out there, because that would be fantastic. Now, Kat is not interested in just microscopic life, which I think exists other places, or even water life, which probably exists other places. I'm only interested in technology life that can build a civilization and travel the stars, like hopefully one day we will. Okay, that's the civilization that Kat's interested in, and not the other kind of life, because I'm sure there's other life out there, but technological life is what I'm interested in. If there is a Planet X or a Na-boo-roo, and that was the name that the scientists that came up with this whole theory wanted to name it. Planet X is more of the generic name. That would be fascinating. But it makes me wonder, a planet on an orbit way outside of the solar system would need to have internal heat to power their civilization. That way they could use thermal heat, geological heat, from the inner core of the planet. Because if you're not close to the sun, you're not going to be getting the solar rays. She back there on her wheel? I hear her talking. Anyways, you won't get the solar rays. So you'd have to have some sort of energy in your planet. And maybe they've developed their own energy sources as well. But if it's a heat-based, you would think that planet would show up in infrared as a big mass of warm area. And they haven't found that. Now, maybe the planet is coated in a way to keep all that heat, to keep them from losing any heat. That's kind of my thought process on Na-boo-roo. Because if it is internal heat, you would not want to lose any of it in outer space. And you probably would lose it to space, So you have to have a way to contain that heat. So that is a possibility. Now, one of my friends on the CB was talking about some planets that he's thought could possibly have life from what he's heard. One of them was a water planet, and I pretty much blew that up because we know now if there's a big ice core that's like level 7 ice, there are different levels of ice. We only have level 1 on Earth. Okay, level 7 would mean it's under a ton of pressure, meaning it's way stronger because of that pressure, meaning nothing gets through it, no nutrients, nothing. If the core of the planet is rock where the nutrients are, and then you got ice 7 around it, there's no way for those nutrients of the planet rock to get into the water to cause life. There would be a separation of those nutrients by that ice, meaning it's not going to happen. This is new stuff that they've just been telling us. So when you hear about that, then that makes all these exoplanets they found probably not habitable. They also have ones around a red dwarf. My other friend brought this one up that was around a red dwarf. A red dwarf star. Red dwarfs, they're like, oh, they put off less heat and less light, but that would just bring the habitable zone closer in. Well, that's true. But then they found out that red dwarfs are very bad with their solar flares. Like they explode like 1,000 times worse than our star has ever. And they're like, that happened to anybody around that star would be dead. So we know now, forget about red dwarfs. I always was a little suspect on that anyways, because right now, the way most things get their stuff is through photosynthesis, most plants. Photosynthesis, which is determined by light. A red dwarf doesn't put off that kind of light, so they would have to develop something that would infrared. They would get power, energy from that, and I don't know if that's possible or not. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if you could get that from infrared. But we now know that it doesn't even matter because the star is too violent with its solar flares that it would just kill anything on the planet. So those planets are out. They never bring into the fact, though, how important our moon is. Because without our moon, we would not have our stabilized tilt that keeps us so we have regular seasons. We would tilt different directions. We would wobble, which would make your weather chaotic and not plannable, and probably destroy crops and destroy any kind of life, because it could never get used to a weather pattern, because it's always goes hot, goes cold, instead of staying relatively level. It's very hard for life to cling on, besides microscopic life, maybe. So that's another thing. I'm like, well, you find any planets with any big moons around them? We're like a double planet system, the moon and the Earth, because the moon is so big. And that's a major factor in us being here. The moon is a major factor. Pulling of the tides used to be a lot stronger because the moon was a lot closer to Earth. So that could have also had a lot to do with how life started, with the mixture of water and minerals from the Earth. And the tides go in and the tides go out. Huge tides, way bigger than what's now, because the moon was much closer. Every year it moves away about a centimeter a year. 50 billion years from now, we will lose gravity control of the moon and it will float off into space. But that doesn't matter, because 5 billion years is when our sun's going to go into a red giant and probably incinerate Earth. Maybe we'll get lucky and move us a little bit farther away because it loses gravity as it loses mass. But it doesn't really matter. We're not even going to live that long, because as the sun starts to get older, it gets hotter. And at a certain point, it'll evaporate our oceans, and that'll be it for Earth. And that's going to be way before the sun goes into a giant red, giant. So don't worry about it. It'll still be a long time from now. I kind of like the theory of Nostradamus, and he said, I think we're going to live to like 3799, is the end of the human race. 3799. So that's a fair ways away for our, that's when Earth will end. Maybe by then we'll have Star Trek technology and we'll be able to travel the galaxy and do and live on. I don't know if we'll ever find another planet like we have here. We may end up just having to live in space, because I just think that this planet was created for us, and it's 1 in a million, 1 in whatever their biggest number out there is, because it's very rare, I think, to have. There are so many things that happened in our solar system. Jupiter had to be pulled back by Saturn, or otherwise it would have came in and ate in all the planets. They found lots of hot Jupiters, which is a big planet, gas giant, close to the sun. But what happens, basically, that pushes all their Earth planets, all the Rockies, into the sun. They're gone. And then there's no way you're going to have life then. The only reason we survived, Saturn pulled Jupiter back out. When it pulled those back out, that also affected Uranus and Neptune. They switched places, sending all kinds of asteroids into the inner solar system, which added rock and valuable minerals to the crust of the Earth that allowed us to have a technology society now. Without that heavy bombardment, the second one, first one is what created us. The second one, we would not have the stuff we need to make these phones, to do any kind of technology, because it's all locked in at the core. All the good metals went to the core, okay? Which was important, because we need that iron core, that molten core, to spin around and create the magnetic field, which comes back to the moon again. The moon is actually keeping that churning going, okay? How the moon circles us, it doesn't just pull oceans, it pulls the molten rock inside the planet, which keeps our magnetic field going, which keeps our atmosphere here. Whenever they talk about transforming Mars, they never say how they're going to build a magnetic field. They say all the time, oh, we'll add these gases and we'll do that. What's going to keep it from floating away as the solar wind pushes on the planet and there is no magnetic field to protect it? Nothing. Just gonna blow away. I don't know why nobody brings that up. I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there. They should be able to say, hey, we'll never be able to transform Mars to a livable planet unless we find a way to create a magnetic field. And why did that core die? Well, it's a smaller planet, probably. It cooled a lot faster, and it didn't have a moon that's helping keeping that turning going. It didn't collide with Theia, or the one that made the moon. That added to our core, made it bigger. Probably a good thing, or we probably wouldn't be here. Molten core, super important. How are we doing on time? Not too bad. Let's move on to Snap. All right. Now, I guess 40 million people are on Snap in the United States, and this helps to assist you with food when you're lower income, which is a great thing. But I've been watching some of the stuff because they're trying to scare everybody now. I mean, I guess you should be scared if you are on Snap and you need it. But I'm not scared because I'm not on Snap and I don't use it. But I guess they're trying to scare a lot of other people and trying to say that it's all Trump when really it's the Democrats who won't come in and sign the clean CR. And now that Chris Coons has even came out and said, this is our only power, and we're going to use it, we're going to flex our muscle, even though it's going to hurt our constituency. They don't care about you. So it's hard for me to care about you when your own people you represent don't care about you getting Snap. But if I was a Snap pro person, I would definitely not be showing the people that they're showing on TV. Now, I don't want to sound disheartened, but I want to be honest with you. The ones I've been seeing are very overweight, okay? Downright, some of them are obese. So, one person they showed was in her 60s, and I have a lot of sympathy for people, but she was very overweight. She does not need to eat as much food as she's eating. And I'm like, why does she need Snap? She's obviously eating enough. But I don't know. Another gentleman was upset that he said that they were calling him lazy. He said he works very hard, but there still just isn't enough money left over. This gentleman was also much larger than I am. I'm overweight, for sure. This person was very, very overweight, and this person was young because there was no gray hair on them at all. So I'm saying under 30. No gray hair. This person had a full beard, and it was nice and dark brown, and even had some red in it. So then I see a lot of TikTokers going on saying that they're going to break in and start stealing food if they don't have their SNAP stuff. And I know they're using their front-facing camera, which distorts your face and makes you look larger than you are. But all of these people were very, very chunky people. I mean, you did not see cheekbones. You saw a round face like Cat has, okay? Really round. Okay, I'm overweight. I know I am. I've probably got 40 pounds of extra weight on me. But I also don't ask the government to give me extra money. And most times I only eat one meal a day and then a snack at night. It's because I'm not doing a lot of activity. If I'm working, I gotta eat 3 meals a day. But if I'm not, I'll eat one meal a day usually and then just have some snacks later to get me through. And that does me okay. So, and then the SNAP stuff, a lot of it goes to sugar, and that needs to stop. If it doesn't have nutritional value, then we shouldn't be giving them money. It has to be nutritional value, in my opinion. We should not be helping people that are addicted to food, addicted to sugar, continue their addiction on us, because we don't do that with any other addiction. We don't subsidize cigarette smokers or alcoholics or gambling addictions or any other addiction. Okay, we just don't. But for some reason, we're subsidizing food addiction. So I have solutions for this. We can have a scale, a weigh-in, and a height that we check to see what your BMI is, or body mass index. And we see if you're just a little overweight or obese or extremely obese. And we take that into account. Now, some people say, well, what if it's genetics? What if it's genes? And we're penalizing these people and they're just big because of their slow metabolism or something. Well, then my solution for that is you give us access to your bank account to see how you spend all your purchases. Like, I remember when I had some hospital stuff done, and in order for me to get a break, they had to see how I spent my money. And I had to give them my statement so they could see how I spent my money and determine if I was just spending it foolishly or if I just didn't have enough money because, the expenses and everything just pile up. And they saw, oh, he's just got really big, he's got all these expenses and he doesn't have a lot of money. It's not that he's spending money frivolously. And that way we could see if these people are using their money on food as well, because I don't know how they're getting so big, but they're obviously, it's not a food issue when they're really big. It must be a nutritional issue, because these people are extremely obese. All right. Now I know after you get to a certain weight, you gotta maintain that weight somehow, otherwise you'll lose weight. So maybe we're maintaining their obeseness by allowing them to get more food than they need. But if I was with these people that are trying to make the case for SNAP, the people that are going on and trying to blame the president, I would go find families with the skinniest people, with lots of kids, make them look bone skinny like they're barely eating. I would not go and interview extremely obese people and to try to make me feel guilt-ridden over them not getting some free food, because I'm like, I've seen the show Naked and Afraid. You guys should watch it. These people go on the show, they take pictures of them before and after, and the main thing you gotta find is water. And sure, they're trying to find food too, but some of these people, it's very little food and they lose pounds, okay? But this is a 30-day thing, but they don't die. They don't die, okay? They lose a lot of weight, but they live. I'm pretty sure that show is legit. I know some of them are messed up and they're feeding people I don't know, but I'm pretty sure this one's legit or would have came out by now. So if people can live 30 days that aren't super huge with little bits of food, then some of these other people that have enormous amounts of food on them, basically fat, they're going to be okay. And I'm just wondering, are we enabling them to stay obese because of what we're doing? So that's why I like the choice of you can have your weigh-in and your height thing checked. But if you feel that it's genetics or something, then let us see how you're spending your money and see what kind of foods you're buying and where you're going to eat and how much money you have and where all your expenditures are at. Because I seriously have an issue with some people when they look like they're two of a person instead of one of a person and they need food assistance. And maybe I'm the only one out there. Maybe I'm a cruel person. And I know going hungry is not nice, like the hunger pains and stuff. That's why they recommend people lose weight by exercise more than just by starvation. Because starvation does lower your metabolism. Because there's less food coming in and it knows to lower your metabolism and not digest as much. But it is painful, for sure. But if we're going to subsidize people for food that then they don't need it, then where do you draw the line? Maybe other people would like to get things subsidized. My one friend said he wants to get cigarettes subsidized, because they're already outrageous with all the taxes. He'd like those subsidized. I'm like, he's got a point there. And they're like, well, this food is essential nutrition. But I'm like, they've been getting pop and stuff forever on this. I guess that stops in January. Pop is not nutrition. There's not one nutritional thing in that thing, except for the water, I guess. But all the sugar and crap in that, why was pop covered? Why are Twinkies and Ding Dongs and Little Deb, none of that stuff should be covered. I'm okay with pizza, because pizza's got like dough, okay, there's wheat, it has tomato sauce, there's some vegetables, it has cheese, there's dairy, and hopefully it has some meat on it, there's protein. So I don't have a problem with pizza, but it's got to have nutritional value to it, They should not be able to get ice cream or any of the other no junk food at all. Cereal, unless it's a healthy one, I'd say no. Junk food, You got to get healthier stuff. Well, people say, well, that stuff costs more. Well, then maybe they need to make the SNAP, worth more than actual money or something, so these people can buy the nutritional food. But the answer is not just giving all these people tons of food and them continuing to be way obese. I mean, if we're giving them the bad food, which I think we are. Because if you look at the videos of these people, they're all very round-faced. I don't know a nicer way to say it. And I don't have a problem with people eating as much as they want if they're paying for it themselves. But I do have an issue when they want us to pay for it and they already look like they're eating better than anybody you know. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't know why these people go on TV or on their TikTok and say, I'm going to go rob and do this. Well, I would be keeping all those videos ready for when they do it and then arresting them for premeditation. I don't, they're all overweight people. I'm like, it'd be different if they're skinny people. Hey, we need some food. You guys are so overweight. And I'm sure if they go in and steal, they're not going to be stealing healthy stuff. They're not going to be taking grapes and blueberries and veggies. I guarantee it. Okay? They'll be taking ding-dongs and junk food. I'm not for it. We're almost out of time. All I want to say about Bill Gates is he's a joke of a man. He didn't know what he was talking about with climate change. It was all just a setup. It looks like a joke to hold everybody accountable but himself. make him feel better, make him feel like the world around him sucks. He's a joke of a person, and I'm glad he finally admitted how stupid he is. But I tell you, when he cheated on his wife and his whole family hates him, at least that's what I heard. You get what you get, buddy. I guess it's karma coming back to him. So he really should have just shut up. I tell you, he has the lowest integrity of anybody I know. He bought Windows from somebody, paid him $50,000, and then made a crap load of money through it. Ripped that guy off that made that actual Windows program. $50,000 is all that guy got. What a character Bill Gates is. Yeah, he wants to tell you though he's the good guy. He's a joke. He's a joke. I can't wait for him to go off into retirement land. I guess he is retired, but he still feels like he's got to talk to everybody like we care what he has to say, when we know he's a fraud. At least he admitted it now. At least he admitted being a fraud. We'll give him that. All right, this has been a great CatCast. I'm glad you guys all came and hung out with me. I will see you again for another show, hopefully with another funny hat leading up until Halloween, and then we'll be back to the regular hat that I always wear right here. So yep. But I'm hoping you guys are liking it. It adds a little flair to the show, I hope. All right, so we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's been a chava good day. Peace out, people. Bye now.